This is the most off the dome. I just took a sip of like you can get my location off of that, off the dome. I feel as though I have to say this. My mum and my brother downstairs yapping about something. They're probably gonna get loud. But I don't know. I don't want to stop this, and I don't want to question it. I just want to say it. Um, I'm recording this on like just whatever the laptop has. It says click record on camera, and that's all I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, I'll just click that. And so this isn't like YouTube right now. It's just you know that's why it's so easy to do it. But I don't think that with the effort I put in now, I'll be a writer full time. I don't see that being possible. I think I'm grateful to God that I'll probably get a chance to grow. You know, Whereas 500 words will be hard. I'm thinking maybe 2,000 words will be hard in 10 years. I don't know. I did about 500 words today, and I can't lie to you. It was definitely a tall task. Yeah, it was definitely a tall task. It was a lot of dialogue. I felt like that's what the piece was missing. I did intend to do a second draft of what I'd already done, and then move on to a second draft for another piece, which is like relative. Like I'm in the same place in both of them, Uh, but I didn't. I didn't, and I had an idea, and I wrote it, and it's not the most fascinating idea ever. But I thought it works with the story, and the story's not really about that. And I can totally see how you could disregard it. This is meant to be more of a, the Yeti one. It's meant to be more of a pulpish, like Bradbury esque, the long night type of. Well, the long night. No, no, the long rain. Okay, I can't be yapping on YouTube and not get it right. Shout out to Ray Bradbury, one of the sci-fi goats. I kind of, I no, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing controversial. But the long rain is like kind of what this is entirely based on. You know, I could add more of that influence and just keep honing down the fact that it snows, but I've already started elsewhere. And it's not raining anything like that there. So I think maybe when you get to the point of the crash landing, just keep it snowing, right? I mean, that was my initial thought, but I was only going to mention it once to a reader and let them sort of pick it up. But I think maybe mentioning it every couple of times, once every 5 paragraphs would even be too little in my head. It is first person, so I might just do something with the wetness and the constantness of it all. Uh, but it is what it is. It's my biggest inspiration, the long rain, and I think that's all I wanted. Something pulpy, something fun. Fun is my key. I wanted something fun. I wanted to have fun with this. I didn't want it to be anything so serious, like the last video. I really want to have fun with it. And now, I'm thinking like I put in New Michigan. I didn't call it Michigan, obviously. Like, come on. I I'm not from Michigan, right? So I couldn't tell you the ins and outs in Michigan, but I just thought, well, where are we flying, And well, I need to, I'm thinking, okay, like Atlantic, war zone essentially. So you can't fly over there. I need to get to the Arctic, and I need to get from say relatively this point in America. I don't want it to be New York, but like there's a city there, there's a metropolis there, a utopia, Law, headcanon. I'm thinking, okay, well, how do we get them up there? Well, if I'm gonna go this direction, I need to basically explain the coalition that I've put in the work. Um, I'm not any what's her name? Now I feel like an ass. I've read it. I liked it. Other people, other guys I've heard read it. They said they didn't like it as much. The Handmaid's Tale. I forget the author. Yeah, I think she does a really good job of world building. And now I just sound like someone who's just so uninformed. But yeah, there's that level of world building that I don't really want to do because it's a short story. I want the reader to think and have fun with it in their mind of like, oh well, what about this? What about this? So I just thought New Michigan, okay, Hudson Bay, where we're gonna just fly over there, you know, fly over there and just call it New Michigan, uh, and just connect it with Canada, just to symbolize that America and Canada have had a conflict, and symbolize is probably not the right thing, just mention. And I just went into some dialogue, and it wasn't the most like gripping part of the story. I just thought, okay, well, how do I make this character? Well, what do I do on the ship, right? Because I don't really want to crash land right now because I'm 1,800-ish words in out of 5,000. 5,000 my landmark. One, this is for the Masters. I'm just trying to get a head start right now. We start back up on the 27th, but I'm not really doing a head start, am I? Because everybody else is back. And I want to crash land maybe at about halfway through the story, but that doesn't make sense either. I might just crash land as soon as I don't know. I might just cut to it. I really have no idea, but I don't want much. I don't think I can stretch out, but I can, you know, because I know I have my two characters I want to leave. I want to have my main character stay back with a broken leg, and have one of them die, have one of them run back, and I want to end the story just on the description of the Yeti. Because that's all I really wanted to do was to practice that. I have a story idea for a really big spider in the Amazon, and that's going to take a lot of research because I want to make it really historically accurate. And I don't know anything about the history of well, anything in the early 1900s just before the war. You know, I'm thinking somewhere between like '08 to 11, and I have no idea, you know. I have a little, not a Pinterest board, but you know, I have a couple of like a folder on Google of like the fashion style, the accents, and just trying to make my way through it, you know. But I need to know exactly how we make it over to. I'm thinking somewhere. I've went to the library and picked up some reference books. So, you know, you can only get them reference because they're old. Just trying to look at some of the history, some of the mythology, some of the, you know, and my idea there is to just have fun with it, have fun with some ritualistic, Lovecraftian horror vibes. That's the goal of it, right? With this big Yeti, I'm thinking Bradbury. With the big spider, I'm thinking Lovecraft. Not saying I can do it too. I could do it too. I'm not saying it could be the best, but these are fun. You know, this is fun type of writing for me. When you get into like hometown, really drama-esque, Steinbeckian, thick, like that good. That's where I get really stressed and really, you know, have to focus and put my mind to it. And but even then, the spider stuff, it's gonna take a lot of heavy research, which I'm okay with. But I'm only gonna do it if I get commissioned, I think, because that's a work that I don't have a lot of emotional investment in. I just have a lot of like fun invested in it. I know it would be a good time, and I'd have fun creating this sort of ensemble like cast and killing them off. So many different things, really. What am I going to say next? I'll go back to the story. But yeah, I didn't do a lot of writing today, and this is getting back on the point. And I still think that the story's there and it's making its way there, and you know, I have like a general ideas notebook. I bought this like £6 the other day. I kind of wanted a big one, like a, you know, Matthew McConaughey. You know the True Detective. The open up. It's an A3 sheet. You just like, I kind of wanted that, but then I thought, I'm not paying that price. And this popped up for £6, and I was like, cool. I don't really love this, but I want to grow to love it. It's a nice book, but I don't like the sort of general stuff all being like one page after another and having to go back and like fly through 50 to try and find out what I'm getting. But then again, I'm not going to have like one notebook for each project, because why would I have one notebook for a short story project that's 5,000 words? it doesn't make sense. I know I could do that project and then continue to the next and next and next, but well, maybe I could have done that and I could just shut my mouth, really. But then I've always got a couple of projects on the go at the same time, at least two. So, I like splice the pages, and then when I was doing that splice and I had one poem in between, it was just hard to keep track of. So I thought I'd get a general one. And it's going along fine. It's going along fine with what I've wrote here, and I know I'm getting to the beats pretty much. Just what I wrote down here. It's kind of how I work. I put beat, 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 and just try to go through it, and try to do my best with some nice descriptions, because I think where I'm strongest is the flowery language, right? I'm not toot my own horn in any way. I think I'm bad when it comes to structure, when it comes to character building, when it comes to setting scenes, and really having a known world. But I think I'm good at the flowery stuff. I'm good at the metaphors, the similes, the descriptions. Like, that's my, because that's the only thing I thought writing was, until I hopped into this uni stuff. Because it was just comics, so I was like, cool, I'll just write, guy does this, guy does that, guy does that, bad thing happens to him, maybe a decline, then he has to get a basic comic book story. That's all I would just live by. But now, having to go through so much in my head, I realized, you were just a flowery type of guy, you were just a poetic guy. But I wasn't good at poetry, I was good at the poetic language. And I gotta go through this whole, writing's not easy, it's just necessary. And I think that even though things are going well, and I can see how well they're going, and the story's progressing fine, ultimately 12 minutes into the video, my point, I'll try and stick on it. I don't think that with the way I am now, and the way I am now, to be fair, is January. This isn't how I was in October. This wasn't how I was in December and November. The way I am now, I don't think I could write professionally and full time with this. Maybe November, maybe October perhaps, and like the first half of December, because that chunk was me, like, just the revision and the drafts was so on point. Every 500 words was scrutinized like systematically, and I would always improve the piece, and I felt really good about it. And I had such workings of world building and almost like working out, right? When you do math, the teacher tells you to work out. I have like physical workings out, and I felt, okay, this is it. I feel like I'm in the process. In that time, by the by, I felt like a writer. I really felt it, because the processes and everything, I was like, yes. But I think this is my point that I really want to harness on, is the fact that I've had so many talks with my uncle about, working. And I've always told him what the dream is. Full-time writing, full-time writing, full-time writing. I'm no king, but I want to be a full-time writer. And he always harked on us that I'll always have to have a job. And then he says, oh, well, if you do the writing, you can maybe work in a library. And I think he's really inspirational, because he wants me to gear on the side of do what's in your field and write. And I totally understand that. And we never understood each other for the longest time, because when I'm 18 and I'm like, no, I'm not getting a job. And we had a conversation recently. I was playing Dark Souls, just going like a run through for like the Christmas break, and I was really just trying to enjoy myself. And we just hopped on the call, and it was like a couple hours, and time went by, and he was trying to stress his points, and that was like, he's met people before whose achievements were things that he not looked down upon, but he felt sympathy for them. Really sad achievements that don't really amount to much, but they amount to something that they think is big, and he thought for them they could do better, and for everyone else they can do better. And that was like a really respectable avenue we went down, and I really understood his motivations for the things he was telling us. And from that point on, I think I found a deeper respect and a deeper comfort, in his advice. And I think I'm okay with that now. For the longest time, I always thought, you know what, I'm never gonna get a job. I've had jobs. I don't want to be that guy. Currently unemployed. Uh, I think that's because I'm okay. I'm in a position right now financially where I'm doing okay. I'll be in difficult situations in the future. In the not so far future, I'd say for 2026, I'm in a comfortable position, and I'd like to work up to a more comfortable position. And I'm a kitchen guy, right? I'm not a cook, but I'm a kitchen guy. I'm a pot wash, really. That's my forte. I'm not a pot wash in the sense of I hate the pot wash. I'm a pot wash in the sense that I hate it, but it loves me. You know, like we're like um, enemies to lovers. And if I don't get the opportunity to write full time, which I don't think is going to be the case, I think for the longest time in my life, like anybody else, I've accepted that it'll be jobs I don't want and grinds that are hard, and I'm okay with that. But I think this video, in a way, is meant to just really be okay with that, harnessing the fact that I should be okay with that. There's nothing wrong with having a job, you know? And there's nothing that makes anybody morally less or morally superior if they do or don't have a job, you know? I always thought that my uncle's language was the fact that people who don't have a job are morally inferior. And that bugged me for the longest time. But he thought that I thought I was morally superior because I didn't have a job. And we were both like, oh, no, we don't mean this. Like, now we've clarified. It's just like, hey, you have to pay your bills. So what? You know, so what? That's everybody's life. Now, I might be a Thoreau, a Kaczynski type of guy, a cabin in the woods type of guy, but I mean, aren't we all? You know, yeah. Nobody wants to pay taxes. Nobody wants to pay bills. Whoop de doo. You know, would I be mad if I had to wash dishes the rest of my life? Maybe, but I'm okay with the fact that as a young man, I've accepted and resigned myself to the fact that I'll take 10 years out of my life to go for the dream, essentially. You know, not focus on anything that's too dramatic outside of going for the dream. So I will pretty much just be saving up all my money from work. Uh, you know, after the masters, after the 26, I know I'll be in a position where I'm sort of chucked into the big bad world, and I feel like when I did year three of uni and I was leaving that, I felt like a man. Now I'm in the masters, I feel like less of a man because I feel more dependent on other things, you know. But I'm a person. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I can't sit here and be morally superior at 35 because I paid the mortgage. Come on, lad, you're just a person, you know. Um, but I'm okay with the fact that for these 10 years, I'm gonna go all in, you know. I don't want a full time job. When I do this, I want a part time. But obviously, if I have to do a full time and grind on the weekends, not none of it matters because I have a phone, and if you're washing dishes, you know how it is. You know, boom, 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 shove them in the rack, down, dry once, go away. There's always time to just run to the phone and idea, sentence idea, dialogue, interactions. There's always time to just shove stuff in there. You know, while everyone's going for a smoke break, go for a right break for all you care. You know, just especially when there's not a rush on. You know, especially when you got Sunday morning shifts and stuff. I'll never get a Sunday morning shift, but you know you've got all them on, and it's always just about the fact that writing is it's a process, and it's never just a you do it all at once and then you see all of the rewards type of thing. I think, I'm not speaking for other artists out there, but when I paint, I think for me it's a lot easier task than it is writing, because obviously my effort and my skill isn't too good on the painting, so I just sort of go with the flow, and then eventually I've got a finished piece in an hour or 2 hours. You know, I don't spend that much time on a painting. But when it comes to writing, it takes about weeks to get a draft out there that you think is somewhat good, and it'll take about a week or two more to make that into something that you'll see as a finished piece. And even when you send it out, you'll see it's not a finished piece. You'll always think I could have changed this or that with a piece of work, you know. So I think when it comes to being a writer, I can accept that I'm not gonna be like, it doesn't make sense that if you don't put the effort into writing that would produce the work that would accumulate the wealth you need, right? Say the wealth I need is about 30 grand a year if I want to have a couple of kids and a nice house, you know, with a beautiful family. Then I'd have to work 30 grand's worth. And I think if I were to do this every day, say 500 pages every single day for a year, 500 times 365 is a number I'm not going to calculate because I'm not a mathematician. You thought. You know, but it's not. Wait, hold on. It's a lot, but it's not a lot. It's not a lot to warrant 30 grand, I don't think. And I think that's okay. And that's okay. I think I love how my lecturers and my professors and you know, even those with doctorates, they do this and they write on the side. That's life. And I feel like that's a beautiful life. Because when I had a chance to work with some kids at some libraries, uh, you know, there was some sessions going on, and I felt like this was nice because it connected us to the wider writing world, and I think these are things that are valuable. You know, don't. I mean, the dream is work toward that. The full time writing 24/7. You are Stephen King. You can be the next. I'm saying his name a lot. I don't actually read his stuff. I think I've only ever really read Shawshank Redemption. That's because I like the movie. I'm not a big fan of his work, really. You know, Green Mile, like my mom loves Green Mile. I want to read it at some point. But the idea is like someone who consistently gets paid and has the. I mean, what am I talking about? All the movies he has. Obviously, he has the royalties and the bloody, you know. So, Are you gonna work enough to warrant that money? Is the question. I don't think I will. I don't think I have to justify myself as being a writer. I think I just need to write, and it's okay. It's okay the fact that maybe sometimes you'll have to do things you don't want to do. Right? Saturday rolls around. All of a sudden, you know the leckies run up again. You're gonna have to pull an extra shift. Do it. There's always next week. There's always Sunday. Now there's always waking up and going to bed. There's always these times, you know. But I think if I were to consistently do the things that I did today, mind you, today wasn't even a fantastic day. I think if I consistently did the things I did the other day, which is like 1,000 words a day. Okay, what's 365 times 1,000? 365,000? I don't know. I don't even know if that's right. I just said 1,000 and put the. Okay, I'll just put the zeros on the end. I think that's it, right? 365,000. I think it's like 500 per page on a Word document on 12 point Times New Roman. I could be wrong. So I guess that's X amount of pages. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with not writing full time, but I think there's something wrong as a writer not thinking about writing full time. I'm not saying don't have a day off. I'm not saying don't go to the toilet without a thought of a sentence. I'm just saying, and this is mainly for me. If you're gonna, if you're gonna do that thing of try to achieve your dreams in a field that you're afraid of, just write. Oh man, that's like the last video. Just write on a consistent basis and don't worry all too much about the the progress of your work being linear, and don't worry so much about the progress of your work being what you want it to, because eventually, you'll have an idea and then you'll send it out and maybe it'll get published, maybe it'll not get published, and you can go and so on and so on and so on. I know so many people who've had talks and so many nice conversations with writers who've had to wait to like 30, 35 and so on. But it's just about the fact that you do it, right? I think if I die with nothing published but I have a huge folder, in the back of my head I think someone's publishing this and I'm going to be like some grade when he's dead. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being great after I'm dead. I don't even need to be great after him. I'll be dead. I'll just die thinking, oh man, I can't wait to be Dostoevsky's, like, you know, peer, you know, just on that level. I'll be dead though, so it doesn't matter. And I put that in the back of my head, and I think I'm okay with that. 45 minutes, by the way, way too long of a video. Still gonna post it. So ultimately, I think the thing is, and this might not be deep for a lot of other people. It might be not be something that you've put too much thought on because you've already accepted it, and it's just life in it. It's not that deep. Get a job. Oh, okay, no, don't be offended at the word. I'm sorry, bit of a slur there, but for the longest time, and I don't want to run on with this video. Maybe I'll go 30 minutes max. No, I don't even want to. But before I got into uni, I worked in about 6 kitchens. Maybe 6, yeah. And it wasn't the funnest time. I remember the first kitchen when I said I would apply for uni and I'd go for it. But obviously the applications were in X amount of time, and it was far away. And I told my boss, I said, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And the encouragement he gave me to going after my dreams, obviously just then it was just comics, right? And I was looking around and I was thinking, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I was like on my knees, putting putting the labels on some stickies, and putting that on the plastic tubs, maybe on a gas jar. I don't even remember what it was, and putting it in the drawers. And I went to sit down, and one sec, Scott, don't play no music yet. Give us 2 minutes. And I try to be as honest as possible, and I said I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And until it happened, until I went to uni, I had pretty much jobs up until like the like early September, mid September, when the thing had started. And that last job didn't end too well, but the start somewhere down this line, I had a lot of them in a certain area, like one area with like multiple kitchens. I don't know how, but it was okay. I understood that it was okay to have things in life that are in the way of your dreams, because these are things you have to overcome. But don't hate it. No point in hating it. And the stress for me was in the undergrad. The 3 years, I always had a view of just constant. I want to be full time, full time, full time. I hate getting a job. I don't want a job. I hate the government. I hate taxes. I don't want to do any of this stuff. I'm gonna go in a cabin in the woods type of deal. And I think it only took it took into the latter half of the third year for me to think it's okay. Those kitchens you worked in, you thought they were everything then. Now you've come at the other side, a different man with other things to uphold. So if you need this to get by, you've got the strength to get through it. And I didn't have the strength then. 60 hours a week. Restaurant week, I didn't have the strength for restaurant week. Now I do. And I have the strength for restaurant week and to write on the side. And that's the growth which I'm thankful for. And that's my point. Get them side hustles, get them things that just get your dream over, but whatever it is, at least in my head, work constantly towards writing. It doesn't matter if you're published at 40, it doesn't matter. Just keep writing. That's the point. Not to be rich quick. The point is the goal, the dream, and the self, and the fulfillment of the energy inside, rather than the external. This guy loves me. This guy loves me. This girl loves me. I don't want to be that guy who gets sleazy stuff on the side because he's a writer. You know, I've heard like all sorts of things about writers back in the day. Like, I don't want to have sex with a girl because I'm a good writer. No, I want to, I want to be fulfilled in myself because writing fulfills something in me. You know, none of that. So I'm not writing for that. I'm writing for self. So just keep going on for yourself, and whatever you have to do that, do that. And that's life, and you just have to be okay with the little things that come in there and sprinkle and almost try to mess your mojo up. Just keep your mojo. Keep your mojo. Keep it going, because your mojo is just in here. It's not around here, you know. If your back is killing you and you want to write and you can't really, just go in bed and write, or just do whatever you can. Just try to manufacture something. You know, things happen. Just things will happen that you just don't see coming. You know. I always thought to myself, if I'm a homeless person, I'm still gonna write, and maybe that'll happen, and maybe I'll always sort of go after the dream like that. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what I have to do, because it's not really a perspective of what you have to do at this point. It's just life happens, and people have to interact with the world in the ways that the dreams and aspirations don't really seem to account for. But these are extra things that make you into a better person. You know, stresses, hardships, unforeseen circumstances, pain. Right through it all, because at the end of the day, the pain will be something you'll forget. But I think I'll always have a chip on my shoulder if I don't write. And that's the point, right? Is if I write consistently, say if it's like prayer or something, if I do that consistently, I can always uphold myself as that person, and I get to be that person. Not that I can say I'm a writer and I don't write, but or if somebody says, you know, I'm religious but I don't pray. In fact, you can sort of just constantly be that person. It's not a point of always proving it. You just live in it. You just live it. So I think my point here is to just live it. And I always want to live being a writer. So that's it. That's how you do it. You don't live it by dreaming it or aspiring to do it. Living it is actually quite different to dreaming it. But if you wake up and get beyond the dream and you begin to live it, you realize that the living as a writer is better than dreaming as a writer. Especially with how it was in November, because that was crazy good. And I think that's the point of my video. Just try to live as a writer as best you can. Me, no, I'm not speaking finality into whoever else wants to watch 30 minutes of this. Please, no. Please. Go write. Okay, if you watch 30 minutes of this, go write. And if you've watched 30 minutes of this, genuinely, put your phone down, please. Like right now, I'd put it down and read or something. I don't care if you have half an hour, 10 minutes, whatever. Just close it. Quiet time. Evaluation. Okay? This is for me. Live the life of a writer. Doesn't matter what you have to do. Be okay with the things that you have to do. Just as long as they don't crush your morals and all that stuff, because that's a given. But just do those things on the side. If you have to go clean people's bins, there's no problem with that. Just write when you're finished. There's no problem at all. Don't take it too literal. Don't take it too serious. And just keep writing with a smile on your face, because that's what life is about. At least mine. Alright. Half an hour is insane.